Hey everybody, today we're going to be doing another YouTube video. In this one, we're going to be covering risk to reward on the ticker VTVT. This stock actually had news this morning, and it is a choppy market out there, so we're going to do our best to really recap on this. So, number one, let's just say it was probably one of the better tickers of the day. So let's just start out by kind of finding support and resistance lines to help us navigate where we might want to take some positions later this evening. So right here you can pretty much see there's a lot of support in this area at 290s. We sell below it, it bounces back up. We sell to it again, it kind of bounces back up. Later on it actually breaks down all the way back down to 280s, and then it still pushes back up again. So this is kind of my first priority. I'm not going to take a position in this yet. I'm just going to let it play out and, make it prove itself before I'm going to take anything. So at this point, I have kind of seen that it's going to break VWAP, and we're actually kind of moving closer to high of day, where we were back in the pre-market. So at this point, I'm getting interested to say, okay, let me go back. Let me look at this. Let's look at the chart to see if we can find some good areas of resistance or targets where we could aim for in the future. So number one, $3 is a huge resistance. Just because it's a number 3, it's a whole number. It's a psychological thing. So right here, all the way across, you see there's a lot of wicks, and it just couldn't get above 3. Every time it did try, it just kind of got held back a little bit. So that's kind of where my first emphasis is going to be. The second one's going to be here at 320s. You see there's a wick here, but barely. I mean, there's a body there. Later on, there's a body really close to it. You just kind of get an eye for this the more you put in time with charts. Also, another thing is, so you don't really see a lot more resistance of candles hitting the same area. So, but what I do see is there was a lot of volume back here in December on this huge candle moving all the way up here to 475s. So usually what I like to do with that is kind of go back and dissect a little bit more and say, okay, well, where did it get stuck at? At what point was it really having some issues? And it looks like here about $4 even was another big zone where we could actually place as a target. So just use your timelines to help you kind of gauge what might be the best target for the future. Of course, we could actually find a few more. Let me look here. I mean, this isn't really going to help me here. 20-day, maybe? No? Well, I guess we'll just leave it at that for now. We're just going to go off those resistance lines and see what will happen next. So I pretty much chart it by looking left to begin with, and now we're going to let the play just kind of do its own thing, and we'll wait for the best opportunity to get in. And I know this chart's hindsight 2020, I totally get that, but just realize this is the best thing I can kind of give you besides the live streaming that we do on Twitch, so you guys can kind of have an idea of what I look for. So 320s here was a resistance from previous days. If you looked all the way to the left, we kind of charted from that. We actually see it break this, which is in line with it, right? So we got that touch from, a couple months ago or whatever. It touches here again, and then the third time. So we already know it's resistance. Now we're thinking maybe this can become support. So with that being said, we're going to do our best to try to get in off of this support area. So of course we could have got a pullback here, but I don't think I did. I'm pretty sure I missed out on this opportunity. It actually was kind of doing, if I can kind of chart this, it was pretty much moving, straight up in this way, and I thought maybe, hey, we're overextended. I don't want to chase it. I'm going to let it do its thing, and then when it breaks back down and resets, I'm going to look for a position. So in this instance, we can say, well, we're getting really close to 320s again. Let's watch the level 2. Let's see if this is going to start to hold. And then we can make proper risk to reward ratios. So in this instance, let's just say you got a pretty bad fill. let's just say you got 325. Maybe you didn't get 322, because obviously it's really difficult to get in at the lowest point and nail it, okay? So I'm going to draw this out. Let me see. Is there a text button? There is. So we're going to say this 325 entry. We're going to be risking 320 risk, all right? So that's 5-cent risk, and we're taking 1,000 shares. So that means I am risking $50 on this play. And we're going to move this up a little bit so we have an idea. If it breaks this level, which I'm really trying to point toward this line going across here, then I'm going to get out and I'm going to take a $50 loss. What you'll learn a lot about in the stock market, or as you're trying to look for educational material, is that most people are saying look for 1 to 3 or 3 to 1 risk ratio. Meaning if you're risking 5-cent loss, then you should be looking for at least a 15-cent gain. So in this regard, a 15-cent gain would be about 340s. So it's beautiful that it actually happens, that it actually makes a pop all the way to the 340 area, which is right about here, which is going to be your, hey, take some gains off the table at least, you know, take some profits and be happy with it. So this is a great risk to reward ratio, and I think you should take this trade. Now maybe you didn't get in at a great point. Maybe you took a trade and you kind of chased it up here at, say, 335. Well, if you got it at 335, your risk is going to be totally different than 320s. You want to be risking a lot higher. You want to risk maybe off, say, 330s, because again, 5-cent risk, right? If it breaks this, you just got to cut this and move on, take your loss. And unfortunately, you just got in too early to time it, right? So just make sure you're kind of looking left on that chart, so you'll have a better a better idea of where this might possibly hold in the future. Now, something else you should take into consideration is kind of an idea of where you should scale out at. In this chart, there is really good scales in this area at about 350s. And 350 is just a whole psychological number. And just in general, you always want to look for psych numbers. You always want to look for, if you don't know what psych number is, it's, 350s, $4, 450s, $5, things like that in stocks under $10. And then another thing, you're looking left on the chart just to make sure that you can technically see other areas where there might be bag holders, people who basically bought the spikes, and they've kind of been holding and hoping that it would come back to that level. So in this regard, 350s is a great scale out area. Even though that's well above your reward ratio, you can still try to take some gains into this. So you get a nice pop above 350s. You want to scale out into this a little bit. Your ultimate price target is probably $4. Because if we look back on the chart from, a couple months ago, $4 was a pretty big significant resistance, right? $4 is right here. You see how there is support way back here for that $4 line, and then it broke down, say right here. I'm just going to move that down a little bit. Now this is going to be that resistance coming back upward, right? So we get back up here again, we can't break it, okay? We get up there again, we can't break it. So today, that's what we're going to be looking for. If $4 gets anywhere close to it, that's my ultimate goal. So in the regard that you're kind of scaling on the way up, if you guys haven't watched that video, I definitely have one up. You just want to scale into the strength. You want to scale into, or scale out, I should say, when there's volume bars like this. When we're breaking this 350s, we're breaking psychological numbers. We got some consolidation here, an ascending triangle. We break out again. There's no volume here, but there is a breakout. So take some gains into this, scale out a little bit. Maybe at this point you're out of your position 75%, and now your only target left is $4. And that's okay, because now you got to kind of find yourself a reason or where to risk off of. And I like to always kind of look for where the uptrend is. You know, if you took a position here at 325s, you're probably asking yourself, where would people be kind of risking off of, or maybe if this trend changes, where should I absolutely get out at? And I always kind of look at it like this. Okay, here's an upward support line you could have used, but maybe you kind of held through this thing and you're looking for more of a end of day. Where should you get out at? Worst case scenario, you think this play is over and things just aren't working out for you and you need to move on. Well, usually that's kind of where the uptrend's going to lead to, right? Kind of where it needs to either hold this line or it's going to break down. If this breaks down at this point, it's at 357. You're in from 325. You're still up significantly. So if you break this uptrend with your last 25% you may still have, you just got to get out of it, call it a day, and be happy. And this should help you guys with your risk to reward ratios. Any point that you guys are taking trades, you got to know that you are just taking this small, tiny little risk right here. 325 is where you got in, right here. Look at this. This tiny little chunk where you technically could be making anywhere from this chunk. And that's just your 3-to-1 risk ratio. Of course, you can go for 5-to-1s and 10-to-1s and all that stuff, but it depends on how the market is. Is the market hot? Is it having trouble, like keeping any gains? And just should prepare you for the future. Realize you're taking your 15 cent or your 3 times your risk. Now you made $150 instead of actually losing it because you held too long and you weren't prepared. So in this example, you made $150 minimum just because you understood the value of where you should get in or how patient you should be. So again, thank you guys for watching this video. I hope this helps you a little bit with risk and rewards, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks so much.